Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel Animate Orange, where I build a lot of 3D metal models and show you how I do it. Today on the table from Fascinations, an ICONX model. I've not built enough of those yet. I have the ICONX Empire State Building. I've already built the Empire State Building. It's up there behind me. It's a little metal earth model. This one should be a little bit larger and a bit more detailed. It's older packaging, so we don't have the gauge of difficulty on the back, but I can't imagine this one would be that terribly hard. And actually looking at the one sheet on the back, it looks very similar to what I've already built. Larger parts, maybe not too complicated. How many sheets does this have? Just one sheet. Wow. So yeah, not a lot to it. This one ought to be pretty simple. Let's open this up, see what's inside, and always put it together. ICONX Empire State Building. What is inside? Accustomed to 2 sheets, but I believe I read that there was just one here. There's some instructions. This doesn't always want to come out right. There we go. And one big tape down the sheet. Try to carefully remove the tape. We have our one big sheet of metal. So we'll stick this back somewhere. Oh, one more thing in here. Another pair of tweezers. Several of these by this point. I'm just gonna set those aside. Alright, let's look at the instructions. Open this up. It's blank on the back side, so not a very long build. One long tall sheet. I will fold it in half to fit it on the camera screen or in the camera view. And starting at the top left corner, the Empire State ICONX 3D metal model kit. You got the 360 view, your web address right here where you can go see a completed 360-degree view of the model, and there's a QR code, which I would imagine takes you the same place, and sort of a line drawing of the completed model. Here you have your legend, the blue circle as usual. When you see that next to a connection point, it means to insert a tab in its slot folded over 90 degrees. Green triangle means to insert the tab in its slot and twist 90 degrees. Here's a sample part pointing at the tabs, the slots, and the fold lines. Tabs and slots, tabs go in slots, fold lines are basically pre-scored areas where you are supposed to fold a piece or part or section at. And a little note about needle nose pliers being helpful for assembly. And below that is the metal sheet, or a drawing of the metal sheet, so you can see all the part numbers pointing in all the parts, so you can find those sheets, those parts on the sheet when you get to that part in the assembly flowchart. And if we move over, oh don't fall, if we move over to the next, or the next section, to step 1, we have part 1 and a very basic demonstration of how to fold it. It's kind of sudden actually. There's no step by step, it's just like poof, you have to do that shape and fold these out. That's a bit sudden, and I'm not even sure that I completely understand what changes between the different ones. That's kind of an abrupt fold there. And then jump down to step 2, and this part suddenly becomes that shape and goes on there. And this part suddenly becomes that shape. It's not hard to figure out. Just fold it to fold lines and you should end up with that shape. But it's a little distressing that they've gone so abruptly with it. And then step 3, fold this around step 2. So basically when you finish with step 2, that comes down here and this part goes around it to end up with that. And then down here, or once you get halfway section, I've got this folded in half. You go down to the bottom quarter, pick up step 4A and step 4B, step 5, and you just follow the assembly flowchart, bending, shaping, adding parts, on to step 6 over here, step 7 and step 8. And once you get down here, you are finished with your build. Let's take a moment to talk about tools. This is a very basic set of tools that I use in pretty much every build. I've got a very standard set of tweezers that I use very frequently. I've got some precision tweezers, another flat set here, and a couple of pointed tweezers, one of which I've ground the tip down just a bit to make it a little flatter for grabbing tabs. I have clippers that I use to get the parts off of the sheets quickly and easily. It's better than bending and trying to break them off. And then a couple of different pliers, a flat nose set and a long needle nose pliers set. They come in handy for bending in different situations. Talked briefly about some tools. I've got the basics to get me started, the sheet and the instructions. Let's build ourselves a slightly larger Empire State Building than what I've already got. It really helps to have a pair of long nose pliers to bend over the flaps on part 1. I didn't notice it right away, but I am putting this part on upside down. I will figure it out soon and flip it. I'm opting to bend the tabs over rather than try to twist them in such a tight space. The second time, I left the sides of part 2 open a little to make it easier to attach it to the sides. And now I realized I had put the first part 2 on upside down. This part is so long, I took turns bending it a little at a time from each side to keep it from completely warping the metal. The metal is a little thin here with all the windows and holes and easier to warp out of shape. I'm using my fingernails to bend over the tabs and hold things in place. And now I am realizing I forgot another step. I neglected to bend over the top portion. Nothing to do now but to take things partially apart. I apologize for going off camera. I'm still getting used to a new camera setup. I am just twisting the tabs to secure the two parts together. With part 6, I left one side open until after 4 and 6 were attached together to make it easier to twist the connecting tabs. The really fun part was getting this assembly lined up and attached to the main building. I decided to open the sides back up for this. Again, I am bending over tabs rather than trying to twist them. This time I am only partially folding over the side pieces. I am leaving them open to make it easier to twist the attaching tabs and make it easier to attach the assembly to the rest of the building. In hindsight, it might have helped a little bit to not fold over the upper corner pieces as well until after the assembly was attached to the building. If you are having a difficult time attaching this assembly to the rest of the building, you are not alone. It's tough to line up all those tabs at the same time. These tabs are so deep, there isn't much else to do than to reach in with some long tool and bend those tabs over. I accidentally went off camera again. To shape part 8, I wrapped it around a solid end of a drill bit. I am not too worried about getting these little pointed parts exactly in the right spot now. I just wanted to get them in their general spot, and later when it's more assembled, I will straighten them up. These tiny little pieces were a real pain to bend. With all the little windows, the first time I laid this piece down, I didn't actually hit the correct slot holes. Instead, I plugged it into windows and had to do it again. Ah, the ICONX Empire State Building. This one fooled me. Quite frankly, this one fooled me. I thought this was going to be a pretty easy model. I've already built the Empire State Building. At first glance at the instructions, at first glance inside the box, I'm seeing one sheet, and I'm thinking, I've never seen an ICONX build. It's only one sheet. Granted, I haven't done anywhere near as many as I'd like to. Still kind of new to the ICONX thing. I've done a few, but not that many. Surprised to see one sheet. I'm looking at it, and it looks like it has a very, very similar construction to the smaller Metal Earth version. And I'm thinking, you know what? This one is not going to be that difficult. And I guess I went into it with a little bit of overconfidence and kind of messed up a number of times and caused myself a lot of unnecessary grief with this build. Putting a part on upside down, rushing ahead and not checking things, and having to redo stuff. I did it to myself. The ICONX Empire State Building took me 1 hour and 15 minutes to complete. I do not recall off the top of my head how long the normal Empire State Building took, but I believe this may be just a little bit longer. So I want to say the regular one took me a grand total of 1 hour. So the ICONX one took me a little bit longer. Seemed like it took longer than that. It seemed to take forever, but that is my own fault because of the way it came together, because of the details that I did not pay attention to. Now I was very much ready at one point during this build to say this thing is very flawed, and it is a little bit. It kind of, to me, after having built as many Metal Earth models as I have, some of, especially the instructions, some of the things in design about this just tell me that this is an earlier model design. things have been more refined in the world of Metal Earth since this came out. But this could use a little bit of refinement, but it also could have used me paying a little bit more attention to some of the details. So there was some issues that I cannot specifically say that I have a suggestion how to make them better, but I could see that perhaps there could be some improvement in the design, but that's not necessarily to call this a particularly bad design. I'm a little bit jaded because of my own faults. In the end, it looks pretty cool, and I can easily see a couple areas where I could have improved, especially with putting some of these side pieces on. I could have done things a little better, but the instructions could have been written a little bit better. Look, that's me lashing out just a little bit. And just real quick, while I'm at it, here is a comparison of the two. And you can see there is considerable difference here. The one Empire State Building, this one seems a lot more square, and this one is flatter. It's interesting to see the difference between the two when you hold them up side by side. This one has more of a rectangular shape to it, and this one has more of a square shape. Yeah, interesting. I'll put those down now. This is the part of the video where I say I'll leave it at that. If you like these videos, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Check out a link in the description below, and at the end of this video you can help me bring more interesting and larger builds to this channel. As always, thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.